You're listening to Critical Mass Radio. Now it's our turn.
Aloha. Gaia Sophia, Dreaming Mike here. Much love and thanks. Deep gratitude. Thank you for all tuning in and connecting with the heart. We are always connected and live as one. Where are we going with this fine day we're all having here? Oh, the day hasn't even begun for me. It's still 4 a.m. in the Hawaiian dream time. 12 o'clock, so the stars aren't shining, so there's not much light out there at the moment. Out here, because I'm outside. And ocean sounding, resonating beautifully in the foreground. Usually we say background, say foreground and facing the ocean. This intimate connection we have with nature and all. And where does the confusion lie in this? What is this? Well, it hasn't come quite clear in my mind of what is the false reality, the system. Where does it begin? Where does it end? How are we interacting with this and deluding ourselves that what we're actually dealing with is the real deal? It's like, how do I know if what I'm... So this is part of the confusion that we're hoping to clear here. And part of trying to clear this is describe it. Many times I find myself dancing around the subject, so to say. People are like, Mike, you're confusing. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, man, this ain't my problem I'm trying to describe here. We all talk about service to all. Many of the things I bring up, they're like, man, what's wrong with you? I'm like, this ain't me. This is the collective. This is what's in all of our mind, so to say, that we've been playing as a background program that's been actually leading our lives. And they're like, oh, man. And I'm just like kind of tired, really tired of it. Since I bring it up being projected as my problem or my thing to deal with. I'm like, man, I recognize my aspect of it, where it plays out in my life, how it's manifesting or showing me this lesson in my life, this truth. And I'm like, oh wow. And so when I see it, and then I look beyond myself, I see the bigger picture, how it's connected to all, how we all, and this was my version, or so to say, the way I related to this fear or truth. Because many times they go hand in hand, and the fact that this fear is masquerading or clouding over this truth. It's distorting this frequency from the heart. And I'm like, okay. And it's like, sometimes it's hard to describe. And if we'd recognize, oh, it's not just Mike, this is all of us, I'd be a sigh of relief. Yes, please, thank you. Can we all take a look at this for a moment? Not get caught up in whatever was running through your mind. And this is when you realize, and I know it's kind of it's not a new concept, but it hasn't been practiced in a while, or we haven't quite been aware of it. Because I was sharing, and I talk with healers and people who've done healing work in the past, and I'll share this with them. And hey, there's this thing that nature has shown me. She says, hey, Mike, look at this part of your life. that's kind of imbalanced. And I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, thank you for showing me again. And he says, now that you see that, look at this. Oh, wow, that's why I keep getting it coming up in my life, because it's related to all. I'm like, okay, let's do this again. Because I could keep clearing it in my life. But if it ain't cleared in the all, it's going to keep popping up. And so I was like, oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me that intimate, interrelated connection we have. Because I don't want to say, well, my house is in order. See you all later. Good luck, tough luck, whatever bullshit. I'm like, no, man. There's only one house, one home. We all live in it. And so I look at this. Many times I've tried to bring this conversation up, and I'm like, do you get what I'm saying here? And they're like, kinda, no, not really. And I'm recognizing how self-centered, in a way, people's focus is. And I'm like, wow, there's a healthy part of that where, yeah, you need to focus on the self. But then there's another part of it when someone's sharing with you the all that you should take a look at. Because otherwise you just turn around and then it becomes an ego story for the other guy. Because that's the way you're looking at it from. So you project, oh, that's just your ego speaking, Mike. And I'm like, okay, let me see who's going to have this conversation with me. So I'm not waiting, but I'm looking forward to this conversation that I'm going to have with someone who doesn't repeat back to me what I'm talking about, who shares the next part of the sentence, the next part of the conversation. So I can go, yes, you're in on this conversation, because that's who I need to have it with. And many times I'm like, okay, I keep sharing this story with people, and they're like, nah, Mike, you're being too literal. Mike, what's your problem? I'm like, I'm not describing my problem. I'm not describing your problem. I'm describing a general fear concept construct that we've all been kind of locked into. And many times the way you have to relate this word is, okay, I'm doing something, and I'm going to use this word, heal, because I don't believe in healing the planet. I don't think there's any healing needed to be done. If anything, it's called freeing up energy that's stagnant or stuck in your body, or if you want to then project it out onto the planet. But when we look at it clearer, it doesn't reside in the physical earth or your physical body per se. It resides in your mental body that manifests into your physical reality, or even your physical body. And you're like, and I'm like, that's the program. Let's clear it. We clear it together. Please recognize it. And so I'm going to have this conversation. I know it because I'm having it right now. But I recognize in this, I don't do it by myself. I don't clear these fears on my own. This is why we say, yeah, we come together. This is why everyone's saying, yeah, man, this ain't an individual effort. Yeah, there was Buddha. There was Jesus. There was Krishna. Whoever that gave you the one person is enlightened, the rest of you tough effing luck, basically. Try and be like him. That's the program. I'm not saying Jesus, Buddha, or Krishna ever said those words, but that's kind of our operation, that there's one Savior. Even though the Savior said, you're it. And so is each and every one of us. But our thinking flips into that. And I'm like, oh, that's why this is a together thing. This is a team effort, a group effort, family effort, actually. A family cause. And I got my finger on it again, and I'm like, here it is. It's like there's a insect running around loose on your counter. And I've put my finger on it so it doesn't run around anymore. But if I lift my finger off of it, it's going to scatter. It's going to just run amok again. And I'm like, guys, I got my finger on it. Will you guys please come over and help me clear this? And, well, Mike, what is this you're talking about? Well, it's a simple concept, and it's coming clearer. And it's the knowledge that all is self. And what that means is there's no separation. There's no division. And when we have others to in a way look at things, it's kind of funny, look at things in the same way, but it's not from your mental perspective or your opinion. It's almost to see things in the same light. And this isn't my light projection. It's just like, shine light, and it's just like, hey man, can you see this now? It's just like, yes. And that's all I'm asking. Take a look at this one now. Okay, got that off my chest. So, thank you for tuning in, Gaia Sophia Dreaming. The number is 347-326-9530. Heartlines are always open. You can go Blog Talk, Critical Mass Radio, Gaia Sophia Dreaming, Skype in, call in, find your way in, press 1. You are the miracle. And please feel free to chime in. Aloha.
Aloha, Mike. Aloha,
Hey, John.
everyone. Hi, how are you doing? Sound good?
Yeah. Well, just a few things, they keep coming up, and then I'm trying to get, I'm trying to get to the root of these things. Trying to get to the root.
So simple, but I don't know how to put it into words, but my heart totally resonates with exactly what you're saying, that lingering, clearing that we do for all, so it keeps coming back, and it does keep coming back.
Yeah, and then when I try and explain it, it's like, Mike, what's your, it's associated with me, and I'm like, no, I'm not talking about me. Well, I am magnetic electric, I'm talking about all. And then it's projected on, like many times I'll be having a conversation and I'll bring up the underlying fear, the collective, what the collective mind is kind of stuck on. And instead of recognizing as that's what I'm bringing up, it's, Mike, what's wrong with your ego? And I'm like, actually, I got this down. I have no problem with this. This doesn't fuck with my life.
Mm-mm.
But guess what? I'm not separate than the all, so it does distort, mess with the life, our life. So, hey, I'm not separate, so if it messes with one of us, I'm going to look at it.
Yeah, it
and
messes with all of us.
Exactly. So I'm looking at this, and so when I try to have this conversation, Janet, it's like it's projected back onto me as my problem, and I'm like, no, it's this. It's all of us. Can you look at it like this? And it's hard for people to grasp. We're healing the planet. We're doing this, or they're doing individual work on somebody, and I'm always like, man, 15, 20 years. Like, you guys are doing the same motion. You're doing the same motion. And you're getting the same friggin' results. And I'm here going, same pretty much spot in terms of, yes, that's good, yes, that's good, but you're forgetting the big picture one. And that's the point I've always held to. I'm like, I agree with all those others, but if you leave out the base, forget it. You guys are just window dressing in my book. And that goes for all you healers out there. All you light workers who call yourselves healers or whatever. And, I'm healing him through him. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? I did stop healing each other for a moment. Seriously. Stop thinking you're helping this person heal them. Or I'm going to talk you through it, because I'm like, yeah, we could do that until the cow jumps over the moon, over and over again. And you know we're going to do it over and over again? Because you haven't cleared this kind of lingering fear, this almost last remnants of hidden fear, kind of. When I say lingering, it's almost this, because we're going to keep tuning into that and repeating it again. Oh, I got to clear your aura. You got this block again, and then you clear it, and then you wonder why it comes up again, because we haven't cleared it for the all. And I've been trying to clear it for the all for a long time. I'm like, yeah, but you got to do it for yourself. I'm like, oh, man. No, we are all doing it for ourselves. We're here, right? I just took a breath, right? That person over there just breathed, right? They're doing something, right? They're at least alive. They're doing something. Okay? So quit judging who's doing what and not doing what. I mean, I got to do that for myself also. But I'm like, we keep putting other things first, and I'm like, unless you clear this, program still runs in people's imagination. And then you're going to talk to me about 2015 or whatever junk. And even if that so-called year rolls around, you know what my two letters I'm going to still share with you? F, U. You're still in a linear time construct of the old paradigm, and then you're going to blame the system or whatever alien or whatever devil of your own making. And then I'll be sitting with whatever being you're slagging off going, look, man, they're still friggin' calling you out, even though you don't do that anymore. Yeah, isn't it a bitch? Yeah, man.
Yeah. It's getting the now.
Yeah. It's like everything's in the now. Everything's in the present moment. Yeah, and 2015 comes. I don't even want to talk about it. Or 2014 summer. Let's just go more immediate, since it's still spring. Bringing more so-called immediate. You know, I mean, bullshit. But I'm just going to call it bullshit. I was listening to George Gavasilis and Kurt Kallenbach, and, you know, usually I don't want to say people's names, man, because I listen to both of these guys. I like both of these guys. They resonate with me in so many ways. But this is where I hear it with all these guys, and I'm like, how do you guys talk about everything being now in the present eternal moment, and then you go, well, maybe in some friggin' future time, this will get resolved. Huh? Do you just hear yourself?
Then it's canceled. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You just canceled it out. Maybe if we all come together in whatever date in whatever year, then maybe something will change. What the? Please, go back and listen to yourself. And then I got to hear, oh, man, that's great. Yeah, we'll go into this next. I'm like, guys, I don't know what you've been dealing with. I don't know what's going on in your personal life.
It's like that song, open up your plans and then you're free. You know, you don't have plans. You stay in the now.
Yeah. And so I look at this, Janet, and it's just, you know, it's perplexing to me. And see, this is where I'm like dancing around this thing. I'm going to get it. We're going to get it. I know it. We're doing it. And with these other beings that I tune into where I'm like, wow, it would be great if you guys would shift your focus for a moment, have a look at this, and then take a look again. And, oh, man, I've been holding this for a while, and it's not just me. I know this. But like I said, I've got my finger on that cockroach, and I'm like, guys, will you come over here and take a look at it? Because as soon as I lift my finger, it's going to scatter, and you won't be able to see it as clear. And they're like, la, 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 call me for healing work. La, 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 you want me on your stove to fucking... Yeah, I'm too busy. I'm like, you're too busy to heal this, to really get to the root of this cause? To the root of this cause? Right. Yeah, I was awakened in 2003, and I did this, and we've been doing this. We've been on the truth movement 10 years. Hey, guys, I've had my finger on this for 15 years, if you want to put it in your linear friggin' time frame. 15 years, and I've been asking you guys, come, look, here it is, man. And who put my finger on it? I'll tell you who put my finger on it. Nature. Gaia Sophia did, man. Mm-hmm. And I got it. Here it is. Come. Have a look at this. And you're going to laugh when you finally do. You're going to be like, oh, Mike, yeah, we heard you, man. Because I'm doing this in my own way, to my own self. Because there's something that somebody else has their finger on and has been saying, Mike, will you come take a look at this? It's for the benefit of you and all. And I've been like, yeah, no, man, I'm too busy doing this and, yeah, doing this. But I got it in my own way. So I'm not pointing out others to call them out. I'm just, hey, have a look in this sandbox for a moment. And some other kid's saying to me, hey, Mike, have a look in this sandbox. See what's going here. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And I'm doing that. I'd like some to come over and take a look at this. If you're telling me, you're sharing with me that you're doing this, with the planet or with Mother Earth or Gaia, and you're a healer, light worker on the internet, because there's many beings that ain't got no connection through this internet, no connection, presence online. And you guys, just because you have a presence online that you think you're some leader.
We don't need leaders.
Or you think, yeah, man,
leaders
we got
with no followers.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I know many of these beings, they don't have that ego, but I'm sharing with you, they're still caught in a mental construct, whether they want to recognize it or not, of fighting the game.
It's so
fighting,
weird.
being at effect with it. Yeah. Because I hear it, and I'm like, oh, man, I ain't waiting that long again.
I've been projecting out for so much of this life. It's like, no, it's all right now.
Yeah, that projecting outwards that gets me. You project out. It entails us waiting. We don't need to. It's just hard. So here I am. That's kind of my lingering fear, and this is something I'm gonna clear. We're clearing it together, and thank you all.
Yeah.
And so I have a thing, and it's, man, you would think, hope this is only Mike's problem again, like I was sharing. I'm like, man, you'll see the interrelatedness of this all as soon as you get over yourself, in a way. As soon as you think it's only you and your little world, add effect to the so-called business world. I don't even want to call it system anymore. You've heard me say it so many times, so-called system. I mean, there's different systems within systems, and well, let's just say the business world aspect of it. And so here I'll give you a scenario. Since it's my birth week, birth month, everything, when my mother was pregnant with me, they were in a car, taxi. She could remind the story more clearer. A city truck ran the car off the road and knocked the car over. No one was hurt. It wasn't I won't say no one was hurt. It wasn't a bad accident where someone had to go to the hospital, even though that's where we were going.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a sign, don't go there.
Yeah, it was definitely a message, no doubt.
But what it caused was, and you can see this to this day in my mother, and I'm trying to clear this because it comes into me, and why it comes through me, I'm recognizing it. Oh, it's not just my mom, it's not just me, this is, and bigger than this. So, what happens is, and I think everyone can relate to this, and you'd think, Michael, this is just so simple. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm going to share something that relates to all. And you can give me all your esoteric knowledge. You can talk about the Kabbalah, you can talk about the Bible, you can talk about chakras and all these healing modalities and methods. And I'm going to share with you something right here that is above, beyond all of that in terms of assisting all. And this is why I keep bringing it to. I'm like, guys, will you recognize this? You're healing all these symptoms. And I'm like, here's the cause. Come here. Heal it here. Look at me. I'm healing all these things. They're healing symptoms, just like the medical industry is just dealing with symptoms. Most of you light workers are just dealing with symptoms and never getting to the cause of it. And then we just repeat, and then you tell me, yeah, next year we're going to be all enlightened or whatever bullshit. Like, fuck. It gets to me. So here it is. When you see a loved one, and it doesn't have to be a loved, you can see anyone, when they fall down or they hurt themselves, you get fearful. That's it. I watched my son the day before. He's walking and he tripped. And as he's falling, the fear is rising in me. I'm watching this. He's falling. The fear is rising in me. And I'm like, oh, here it is. Look at this connection. It's like, I don't know, you can call this empathy or what, but I'm afraid he's going to get hurt.
Can you actually feel it, like when they do get hurt? Because I know
Yes.
I do.
Yes. And I'm like, this right here, Janet. So hold it, because I'm gonna maybe I'm still dancing around it, but hold that reminder. Okay. So my son immediately said, "I'm okay. I'm okay," and that energy dissipated in me.
Oh, cute.
And I've been having this conversation with my wife. I said, "This is," and she says, "Yeah, your mother does it, and you do it. Please clear it. Please stop it." And I'm like, yes, I'm working on it. But recognize that it isn't just me and my mom's story. We all do this in one shape, fashion, or form. It's called trauma. And we're reacting to it before it even happens, or it just is instantaneously as it happens. This is the glitch in the program I'm freaking trying to point out for so long.
Yeah. It's like an automatic, yeah.
And so I'm doing chakra healing. I'll give you to activate DNA. I'm like, you fuckers, man, come over here and help me clear this. And then you'll watch all those programs disappear, man, or just come clear. Because this one is no longer here gumming up the works. So this fear, this underlying fear that someone's going to get hurt, we have this. Mothers have this. Fathers too. Humans, we just do. Someone's going out, be careful. We have this fear of someone getting hurt. And you can see it right in that moment when someone is getting hurt, that it comes into you. It just rises up in you. And so there's been these studies, and they said that if you're in your mother's womb, and remember, we're in a womb, Earth. When you were in so this is what I'm saying, it just doesn't go back to me and my mother's story. This is a deeper one. This is what I keep bringing to the Gaia Sophia. It keeps reminding me, Mike, bring this out. Bring this to the table. Let's clear this.
That's like a fractal of the whole, like the holograph that's in with the,
Yes. And if we want to look at holographic, put a W in front of it. Holographic. Because too many times we are holographic, and it just creates this confusion in the mind. What do you mean? It's not real? It's a hologram? And then it's confused because we don't even know what hollow means in terms of, the whole. So let's put a W in front of it. And so this fear.
Wholeness. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, wholeness. So this fear that we're clearing here, and this has got to be cleared, guys. We're going to it's getting cleared. It is cleared. And we're being aware of it. So this, when someone falls, so it's even like you'll have this before someone even like I was sharing, when someone goes out of the house, away from your presence, there's this underlying fear. I hope everything's all right. I hope everything's cool. You know what I mean? I love you, but it still has this fear attached to it that I hope you come home safe. Right? Because we know there's stuff out there in the world that happens to each and every one of us that kind of has us fearful for our loved ones. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Let's clear it. So when you're in the womb, if something happens to you, a traumatic event, basically adrenaline is rushed into the mother, and then the being inside experiences it also and gets that boost of that hormone. So you ever meet a really calm person, like, man, lightning could strike next to them and they wouldn't even bat an eyelid. They'd be just like, wow.
Yeah, that seems like you.
In a way, it depends on what it is. If some loved one, or someone, it doesn't have to be a loved one, someone near me is in the act of getting hurt, I will tense up. I will feel it. I will connect to that. Because what's happening is I'm connecting to that traumatic event, right? And it's triggering me. And since I had that experience in the womb, and this is what the story is saying, I have when this trigger happens, I have a bigger adrenaline rush. So the same thing could happen to two of us. One who's never had that experience, he will not have that trigger. He never had that capacity to experience that much, let's call it adrenaline, or that triggers that heightened fear. His adrenaline will only go up a little. So you think, oh, he's really calm.
Yeah.
And you think, what? Mike's lost it. Look at him. He's all and it's on a. I'm like, you guys realize it's like, why am I going like this? And so this article said you probably had a traumatic event in your life, and when you get this trigger, you get this release of, chemicals that cause you to, almost explode. Or as some people would say, my ire would be stirred, my anger or my fear or whatever. You just see me just, woo. And I'm like, wow, man, take a deep breath. Where others won't have this. And it isn't because they're better or they've done more meditation. No, they haven't had that experience in the past to cause that trigger to raise in them. I have. And I'm like, whoa, and I've been trying to work with it. And what I finally came to conclusion was this wasn't just me, this trauma. This was a deeper level of trauma beyond me and my mom. Because I recognized it in other situations. I recognized it in other beings where I went, wow, you're having a very similar experience to me. And you're like, yeah, I just, I'm like, so this is the trauma in the past, so to say, that we need to bring closure to. And this trauma comes from a sense of separation. A sense of separation is pretty much at the heart of this matter.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just bring it back to the little story I'm describing, and then we can take it back out to the anagogic or how it relates with all. And so I'm working on this, and my wife's like, yeah, you need to work on this. I'm like, you could help me. It's your problem. I'm like, really, it is. Like, once again, this doesn't just come to me and my mom for just because it's our little deal. You know, I'm like, no, man, this is for all, man. This is for all of us in whichever ways. This is my description of how I experience it. Each one of us has our own example of this. Yeah, a unique way too. But the underlying current of it all is the same. That's the current we need to clear. We clear it by looking at it. We clear it by speaking truth to it. We clear it by recognizing, okay, what is it? Why does this fear come up? Okay, I know on a biological, physiological level, chemicals are being released, and I'm getting this kind of, and then the fear rises. You just see it in people sometimes. The fear rises. And so, like I said, if I watch someone close to me get hurt, I react in fear and almost anger. Like, not, are you okay? Is everything all right? I'll be like, what the hell? What did you do? Oh. And I'll be like, wow, that doesn't help the situation. That's actually the opposite. You can relate, eh? It's like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, something's not imbalanced there, Mike. You don't want to react like that. And I just watched this in my own family dynamic. I'm like, wow, we keep doing this. We got to stop. Well, how do we stop this? Recognize it. And so I'm watching it in my experiences now. And so when it comes, if I see someone so-called hurt themselves or get hurt or do something that's potentially, it can even be a potential. They don't even have to hurt themselves. It can be a potential trauma. Potential of trauma happening. Trauma is someone getting hurt, basically. And we recognize it on a physical level, but it isn't just physical. It's emotional, spiritual, but we're seeing it on a physical level. I'm like, there it is. Now let's bring it back. There's the fear. Now we can recognize that fear, be aware of it, and let's bring it back to where it's also resonating on other levels, because it's connected to that. And just had to mute your mic there, Barbara, for a moment. Some background noise. And so that underlying fear there that's connected with this example that I've been shown is to, it's like, how do you take a deep breath? How do you take a breath before it even happens? You know, I'm like, the trigger hasn't even happened and you're telling me to take a deep breath. It's actually too late. It will help not perpetuate the situation, but it's actually we need to catch it one step before. And this is the hard one. How do you catch something that hasn't even manifested yet, Mike? I know, right? But there is a mental cause. In
that space, yeah. You have to
right,
be
there is
in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we see it on the physical.
You're always ready. Yeah.
Right. So if we see it on the physical, and we're being shared that this is kind of, you're already seeing the past. The physical is already the effect. I'm like, okay, let's go to the cause. Let's find the cause. And this is where we're tuning into the fear. I'm like, there's a fear in the moment of happening of harm. And what it causes in me is, a rise in emotion in a way, a rise in feeling where I'm like, ooh, it's like a roller coaster. You're like, whoa, and it's not necessarily a good one. And and then you calm down. So in this, I'm trying to get to that point of really like, ding, because we keep trying to deal it out here with this in the symptoms. I'm like, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Here it is. So someone is doing something, they're about to hurt themselves, you recognize it and you yell at them. This was my kind of programming. You either get angry or fearful, and then they hurt themselves. And then you get angry and fearful. I told you not to do that, or and I'm like, okay, Mike, that's whatever there is. But what's your lesson here? Like, what is it? Because you just didn't handle that situation the best you can. So the story isn't so much whatever the person's doing, it's what arises in me based on that. So there's this
it's what you're creating so that you can face that for all. Yeah, I see that.
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. I had a dream last night with that Carrot Top, and he said, you need to step on your emotions, and I'm like, okay. And I've never seen Carrot Top in years, so that was weird. But go ahead.
Oh, I like Carrot Top.
He's funny. Yeah.
He's got some different ways of looking at things, like,
it's funny.
Look at it from this perspective. Oh, yeah, thank you. Eyes open. Open it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's this. So this fear arises without, and people are like, well, get your emotions in control. Get your fear in order. I'm like, man, how do you just, something happens to you and the fear arises in me automatically? I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? Well, don't be fearful, man. I mean, I've said this to my mom. And now I'm like, wait a second. I'm saying it to me because I do it. Mm-hmm. Am I blaming my mom? Look what you handed down to me now, Mom. Wobbly knees and a fearful disposition. Just blaming our parents again. I'm like, I ain't doing that in the least. I'm like, I'm actually thankful because I'm like, wow, man. Yeah, this is the lessons I've been given to clear. So we don't live in fear. And that's an oxymoron in its own self, because if you're in fear, you're not really living. So the idea that you're living in fear, that most people kind of do have this bass note still ringing. And this is getting clear. This is why I'm peeling it back. I'm clearing this. We're clearing this.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I'm watching
all that.
So where it triggers in my life, I'm recognizing it, so I can, in that moment, stop reacting in those ways. And it's almost like an instant reaction, and it's like hard, It's just there's no gap almost. Mind the gap. Put some space between yourself and that so-called action where you're not just immediately like, you had a moment to take a deep breath. You have a moment to think before you speak. I've heard this from Mike, think before you speak. Yeah, that would have helped me a lot in the past, probably. And so this fear that we are, it's the veil. I'm telling you, when people talk about the veils between the dimensions or the consciousness and all that, I'm like, we are describing to you some of these light, gossamer veils that are almost transparent, like the wings of a dragonfly. Or you ever see that the butterfly with the transparent wings? So this is what this veil is like, man. It's almost transparent. This fear, you pretty much, and if the light strikes it right, you catch it. Otherwise, nope, it's just lying there in plain sight, but transparent. It's transparent fear. You have to almost look at it from a different angle to see it. Otherwise, it's staring you in the face always, and you're just not even realizing its influence over your life. That it's the last spectacle. It's like you don't recognize that you still have these glasses on, is because it's so clear. And all of a sudden, what I'm saying is, you resonate more with truth and love. You start seeing some of the specks in this so-called transparent fear, and then you're like, oh, wait a second. And then all of a sudden, if you just tilt your head, for example, you ever see something like you're looking at it directly on and you don't see it, but you tilt your head, you're like, oh, I see it now from because the light. You do this with rainbows and stuff, and this is what it is. This is what I'm describing. It's like this ring, because it's that clear of a fear, transparent of a fear, that we don't really see it. This is what I'm saying. It's this lingering thing that we keep just ignoring. And I'm like, that's where basically all the other ones spring forth from. So I'm glad nature reminded me to put my finger on it, and here it is. It's out there now. We know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not transparent anymore. And
I see that.
As we speak more truth, we resonate and accept more of the truths. It's that even clear. It's kind of hard. How can this fear that it's clear disappear? Well, it's not clear. It's transparent. And I don't know if those are the same words, but it's still a veil. It's just that it's not a veil of, let's say, cotton or linen where you can't see through it. It's just call it clear plastic. It's still a veil. And that's where it's hard to see, because you see through it. Normally you don't see through these fears. But this one here, man, you see through it and you think it's clear. And I'm like, not yet. Not yet. This is one of the last ones. It's kind of tricky in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is what I've been...
Put it out to the surface, and now we can be way more aware. So yeah, that really is helpful.
Yep. So 113 here in the transmission with the heart. Anyone lines open, go it any way you want. I'm glad I got that out there, because this is something for me that when I hear many people describe stuff like the name and all these other things, and I'm like, yeah, well, unless you deal with the fear surrounding it, we're not going to really come clear on it. It's like it's like this. You can say something to somebody, and as simple as, let's make it something simple. It should be as simple as no name, no game, and it will be, because it is that simple. But you'll share something with someone, and you think it's something quite well, let's just say easy. It's knowledge that is known. And then you'll share it with someone, and all of a sudden you'll hear these fears come up. And you're like, why are you being fearful? You know this. So you recognize it's not a question of the knowledge. It's the fear that distorts us from tuning in with it wholeheartedly. That's the difference. So we can accept this knowledge. We can accept this truth. And most of us, we are. We've got to clear the lingering fear surrounding it for us to completely resonate with it. Because I watch it in myself. I'm like, Mike, I know this. I understand this concept. I get it. How come I'm not living it yet fully? and it's this fear that's still associated with it. It's still distorting it. So I'm going to play a tune here, take a few breaths, and go stand on the grass, and yeah. Gaia Sophia Dreaming. Thank you all for tuning in with the heart. Hey, Barbara.
Yay. Yes, sir. Feeling good and sounding good. I am glad to hear your song. That's a lovely song, Mike. It really, really is. How did you finish off your birthday? I know you called your parents back and talked to your daddy for a long time. Then what did you do?
I had a pretty, what did I do? Oh, I was down the ocean playing with my son. It was awesome. I'll put some photos up. I keep saying I'll put some photos up. I had this remembrance, Barbara. I was lying at the shore where the water meets the land, and I was there. My son was like wanting to go a little bit more out, and I was just like, no, let's hang out right here where the water meets, right in the surf, in this in between where the land and the water merges. I was just like, let's hang out here, bro. And I had a remembrance of this from before, that this wasn't the first time that we've done this together. It was just, beautiful day. Beautiful day, and I had this conversation with my dad about later on that day about, life in general. And about what we generally, here I'm using general. Well, I just shared with him how we see things. And again, as I describe certain things to him, there's fear. Man, I'm telling you, call out the devil on some people, they're fearful. It's just like, well, you went to church. This is who you said is running the false game. If you want to put it in those terms, here. I can use different words for different people depending on, what words relate to them in terms of, if someone's never heard the Bible and never heard of that, that's not what they're going to relate to. But the story behind it is, they'll just have a different word to connect to it. And so that's what it is in terms of, it isn't, there's a big bad boogeyman over here and there's another one over here and they're different beings. And that's what, is part of the confusion. And because we've had different ways to describe the same thing. I'm like, I thankfully have listened with a lot of people to recognize, you guys are describing the same things. But if you use certain words, you'd think they were talking opposites. And I'm like, no, I got to sit and listen, and you're describing the same thing. And so this is part of the corruption of the language, is that people can even talk about the same thing, but some words to describe it are opposites. And I'm like, hey, wow, isn't that polarizing thing that we just went through? Mm-hmm. And so I see the harmony of even that, of how even where you see the polarization of how the language has been turned inside out and backwards, and even how sometimes we'd want to express ourselves, how simple things would be so misconstrued, and you're like, well, how did that get taken out of context? Well, somebody else had something going on in their mind, and we can recognize that. So that's
why it's so useful for us to remember. The sticks and stones may break our bones, but words can never hurt us unless we use the wrong perception of the words that are used toward us. So now that really makes a lot of sense why sticks and stones may break our bones, but words can never hurt us. Which, like you just said, Mike, it all depends on what meanings of the words that you take will determine whether or not you get the pain or the gain.
Mm-hmm. So what we're going over here is there's been, so we clear that. right? And I'm like, okay, that's cleared. There's still a fear running through there. This is what I'm saying. Here's a fear. I've been watching this current. You know, I'm like, there it is again. I got my finger on you. Believe me, just like you see these Tibetan healers, they'll put their finger on your pulse. It's called pulse healing. It can work, but you can do it to yourself. It's almost like you're resetting your beat in a way. So you're not like many times you have to take a deep breath to, to come into balance. But it's this fear that's current that just, I'm like, wow. We talk about what's there that in a way shouldn't be there. And that's distorting the nature of reality. And then perpetuating a system of false beliefs that we then project into our world and try and live it. I'm like, wow. I don't know if that made sense, because that way of living isn't making sense anymore, because it was based in fear. And for me, I don't look at things only from what don't I understand. And I look at that, man. I'm Gemini, as my sun sign, that I have that, mental air influence in terms of thinking a lot. But there's thinking about yourself, and there's thinking about all, and how we're all connected in this collective consciousness. Hey man, there's a reason this is called Gaia Sophia dreaming. I was done living the collective dream of the rest of us based in fear. I was like, man, if I can change that, I'm doing it, because I don't want to live in that dream. I don't want to live in a dream.
Do it. Just speak it into existence. Do it.
Oh, that's what we're doing.
Speak it into existence. I don't want to be fearful anymore. I'm not don't want to. You deter. You tell yourself, you God, I'm not going to be fearful anymore, and I'm not going to let fearful people be around me. We are relaxed because we're home. We're family. We're lonely no more. We no longer can say that, there's no one who cares, because we always could pick up the telephone at 7 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning and hear somebody who cares. That we have created just from a long distance. This is that distant love that Marvin Gaye talked about for years, and now it really comes into action.
Yeah, it does, Barbara. It sure does. And thank you, because I'm talking with my mom. It's like this reminder that how so-called apart you are, distance, that truly there is none with love, wherever you are.
Oh, your parents are very proud people, just to know that they could see their development. That's something that parents always wanted. Well, how is my child going to be? What type of child will I have? And they can visually see their child in action and taking the things that they provided for him, and how he has utilized them and made them useful to not only himself, but to others, not only his immediate family, but to others that are far and near. So your parents are very, very proud people of you, Mike, because it's visible of what they did. You are the indication of what they did. You are visible. And all their girlfriends and all your father's male friends, all they can do is just say, look at that boy, Mike. That Mike sure is something else. He sure keeps in contact with his family. I don't care how old they get. He never forgets about them.
Hey, man, I've been called out.
We all know that now.
I've been called out on this. I've been called out on this. You're a mama's boy. I said, why? Because I call my mom every day, or try to, so I can the smile to her face. It makes her feel love. I said, what? I'm going to deny that to somebody? What's your problem? Mama's boy. If that's being a mama's boy, guess what? I do it for my dad, too.
Yep, there you go.
And so I was just like, why you got to knock me? Well, thank you. Yeah, I don't want to be dependent. But I recognized that I could bring that type of joy to someone just by, sharing a aloha. Oh, man. That's where it all begins, man. We just start doing that with everyone.
See, that's that road of happiness that you're on. And see, a lot of people that have not experienced being on that particular road, that's why they would call you out, because they can't even imagine having that type of affection for someone else, or having someone else have that type of affection for them. That's why they call you out.
Mm-hmm. So here's where my parents' fear comes kind of in. Imagine you have a son who's been calling out the so-called system since day one. And then when he came back, well, I won't even describe it. You'll have a laugh if my mother ever comes on the show and shares the story, and they got their own personal views of it, and I got mine. And they'll well, what it is, man, you go speak about God and the devil and that you're going to do something about it, then people get fearful. If you talk about God and the devil and Satan and whatnot and that your effect to it, well, then you're all right. Yep, that's the way the wheel has been turning, and yep, that's what we're in. But when you stand up and say you can do something about it and you're going to do something and you're doing something about it, you ain't bought that program anymore, watch the fear came in. And so I've been dealing with this fear for 20 years. My folks are like, you can't say this to people. And I'm like, oh, yes, I am. And this is, and I will continue. And they had this fear. If you say this, it's like you stand in truth, man, something's got to come after you. And it wasn't the nice guys. So I lived that. So I understood. Yeah, all right. And then we came to a clearing point where it's like, hey, no need to fear that. I'm not attacking anybody. So there's no need for anybody to attack me back. And now we can really clear the air and speak truth. And there's no fear attached to it. And with this, I still watch from the conversations I have with people, because I got a memory where I can, I said this to you 15 years ago. I said this to you 20 years ago. I said it to you 10 years ago. I can see where the fear is lessened and the more of accepting of what I said, what I've shared, has come in. I'm like, wow, here it is. Because what's interesting is you'll share something with someone and they'll get it. And then you'll see, like the next day you'll say it and they're like, oh, no, I don't think like that. And you're like, man, you told me yesterday you get this, I mean, I've had this in one sentence to the next. Forget putting a day between it. It's like you'll share truth with somebody. They get it. They accept it. They're like, wow, this is how it is? Yeah, you see it? Yeah. Next sentence. Whatever it may be. And then you go back to reaffirm the truth before, and it's already denied again. I'm like, how did you just deny that? You just accepted it, and now you're going into sharing it again, and they're like, and I'm like, it's the fear. All of a sudden, there's the fear program, and I'm like, wow. So this is what I've come to realize is at the heart of all, we accepted this truth, and we know it. And then something's happened where, well, like I said, I've seen it in a conversation go from one breath to the next breath, from accepting truth to denying it again. And I'm like, how do you accept it one moment, and in the next breath, you've completely... And I'm like, and I'm working through it. I'm working through the thinking, like trying to see what part of the thinking is out of balance. And it isn't the thinking, it's the fear. Man, you know, me always times just trying to look at all these different angles, trying to see, well, how did that just get messed up? You just got it, and now you don't. And I'm looking at all the different angles of thought in a way of, like, how does that get confused? It didn't get confused by any thinking. It got confused by fear again. And I'm like, wow, that's it. So you don't change people's thoughts. You disassociate the fear connected to it, and wow. So this is the twinkling of an eye. There goes the trauma is no longer here. Because there's no longer that fear jumping in.
So what category does fear go into, Mike? Is it a feeling, or is it just a thought, or...
You know,
I don't...
You can feel it both ways. You can feel it like, let's say, sometimes you can feel it in your whole body. But let's just say it's right around your chest area. So just imagine a cloud around your heart. People talk about this Oort cloud on the edge of our solar system, or whatever, where some Pleiadian ships and light ships are hanging out, waiting for the moment to come here. I'm almost like, you guys remind me of this fear cloud, actually, that's around the heart, and you're telling me you're all heart, and I'm like, why do you guys remind me of this cloud of fear? I don't know. The other part is in the mind, Barbara. You'll feel it like a charge through the mind, through the head, right through your brain, or whatever's inside here. You'll feel it like a charge, like zzz. And it's like all of a sudden, if you can imagine downloading a program on an internet, like on the computer, like you wanted to, oh yeah, I want to download that song or whatever, or I want to open up this web page, and the information comes. It's pretty much like that. Zoom! It just all of a sudden comes into your space. And generally, what we would do before would be we would start acting on that, reacting to it. And now what we're realizing is there's no need to react or act on it. It's okay. We felt it, and let it be. Let it go. That's it. Do I have to clear it? It will clear on its own as long as you don't attach to it. And how do you attach to it is by reacting. Acting, reacting on it. So this is what's coming clear. We're stopping to react on fear. And like we were sharing earlier, for me, if someone hurts themselves or is in the process of hurting themselves, I get fearful. Now, how can I look at this logically and go, well, Mike, what's there to fear? The person skins their knees or whacks their head or, hurts themselves. Is that such a bad thing? Yeah, it is. I don't want anybody to get hurt. But Mike, it was beyond what you wanted in this moment in terms of you not wanting to see anybody get hurt. That person had a choice to do this. Okay, they had a choice to hurt themselves. No, that wasn't their choice. But what happened in that experience for them is they skinned their knee or they, took a fall. And so I have this fear of that's a bad thing. So we have this fear that getting hurt is a bad thing. There's a fear of someone hurting someone is a bad thing, and yeah. Well, what happens when it's self-inflicted? This is where I'm really getting to. Because we're talking all is self. How do we do this to ourselves? We recognize this fear when someone else is doing it. If someone's harming someone, we get fearful. We do not want to see that happen, and we say that's against the laws of nature, natural law. I'm like, okay, I agree. But this same fear arises when we see someone doing it to themselves. This fear comes in. I'm like, don't hurt yourself. Bam! Now you hurt yourself. And there comes the reaction, the anger. Why didn't you listen to me? And I'm like, Mike, shut the fuck up. Just let this energy curse through you and be done with it. Literally, it curses through you like a Tourette's. Fuck. It's like this, man, I'm going to call it, it's almost like this, I don't want to use that word. It's like this force, and you just got to, and we usually call it emotion or feeling, and it's this, it even sends, what do you call it, up your spine. What is it called? Shivers through your body sometimes. You'll see it like when someone hurts you, cringe, and it sends shivers through you. I'm like, what is that, man? It's not normal. Oh, it's because you're a very empathetic person, Michael. Yeah, there's still something else there. Why does that send chills through my spine and I didn't physically feel it? You did. We have this interconnection with all, and I'm like, wow, this is just trauma bouncing around. Just this trauma before it even happens, just bouncing around the room, man. Just like, oh, fuck. And I'm like, boom, I'm trying to grab onto these balls, like, boom. Stop it, man. So, you see what I'm getting at? Before it even happens, the fear is there. The potential of someone harming themselves causes fear. The interpretation of someone hurting themselves can cause fear and anger in ourselves and others. And now I'm going to talk about how we can deal with the effect. But what I want to get to is the cause. The effect is I can laugh when this comes up. Ooh, Mike, start laughing. Otherwise, you're going to get angry. And that anger is not going to help this situation. It isn't. Truly, if someone needs your assistance now and they have a scraped knee or bumped their head, your anger is not helping. This I told you so or you didn't listen to me, that's your ego. It's a fear. It needs to be cleared, and that's what we're talking about it. So, but let's put that right there for the moment. Now, what I can do for myself to actually assist the situation, whether it's myself or another, is to laugh and to address the wound. Give care to the cut or whatever, the bruise, the bump, right? And not be fearful like, oh, you're going to bleed out here, Michael. It's only a scratch. Yeah, but this blows it out of proportion, and this is what I'm trying to, again, clear. So we don't do this, make a mountain out of a molehill. So someone gets hurt, you give care. You know, it's supposed to remain calm, do all these things. It's not like we haven't heard how to best address the situation, an issue. And so I'm like, okay, we can do that part. We can take a moment out, take a breath, and get the Band-Aid, wash it off, you know, come from love now. Are you all right, honey? Is everything okay? Is anything I can do for you? We see this. We see people who can act in this way because they're acting from love. They're not reacting from fear. What am I going to do now? What's going to happen now? You idiot. You know, this. This is what I'm trying to change in me. And when I recognize it, I'm like, this is the cause and effect at its base level, action reaction, almost where this is where we play the trauma drama. This is how we all tune into it, and we have our own little stories or situations that keep arising where this plays out, and it's very subtle, and it's becoming no longer subtle. It like we said, it's that so-called transmetal wing veil is becoming clearer where we can see it, not clearer where I don't see it. Mike, is there a window there? Is there actually a piece of glass there? You know, and you walk into the door again. Boom, yep, it's there. I've bounced off quite a few in my day. I've shared that story, having a fight with my mom in the airport, and they have the revolving doors going around and around to get out of the airport, and there I am. I forget where I just come back from, somewhere, maybe India again, and already having an argument with my mother. And walking through the airport, and she's like, I can't believe you're doing this here again. Ma, what's it matter if we're in public or anywhere? We still got to clear this air between us. What are other people going to think? I don't care what they think, and you shouldn't at this moment. We're not going to see them. Let's deal with you and me and whatever this bullshit is. And, man, we're having at it. I bounced about 3 feet off this glass door. I smacked it so hard, man. My mother's laughing hard, man. Thinking from, man, pissed off at each other. Fearful. Just, man, laughing from our gut, man, in our heart. Man. And usually, you know, my mother saw me hurt myself. It was fear. Oh, what did you do? No, but this time it was like, you deserved it, you prick. And here's my ego. My ego was trying to defend itself. Nah, you still haven't listened to me. And I just was like, yeah, shut up. And I was just go with the laugh. I was laughing. Mom, did you see how far I bounced? So there was this veil of fear, you know, and I bounced right off. So this veil that has been transparent but actually hard is now no longer hard. It's pretty much clear in terms of its parting. It's no longer blocking you. This fear is no longer blocking us from each other and really sharing heart to heart without any fear getting in the way. Because I know my mother does not. When she says she loves me, please be careful, Michael. She doesn't really want to come from fear when she's expressing that. And this is the earth sharing with you guys. This is Gaia Sophia. She doesn't want to be fearful in terms of you living with her. Just as your mother doesn't want to be fearful when you go out to play. She's coming from love, but you catch this kind of fear. Is he going to be all right? We're clearing that right there. Because we are all right. We're all okay. All right, let me check some mics here. Okay, I think that might have done it. Let me open this one up. See if that's it. So, yeah, Barbie, you had a little echo going on there. So, these are ways I'm describing how I have this experience that relates to this. And if you guys like to share your own, to add some perspective on this, because this is the fear that we keep triggering into, and then living the same Groundhog Day over and over. System's still here, Mike. I'm like, no, it ain't, but our fear connected to it is. and we keep running that simulation. It's pretty much only a simulation. That just like when you clear this fear, it will no longer be in the holodeck. It will no longer be in living here with Earth and us. It'll be gone. You'll be like, just by clearing that fear, Mike, there's no more business, pretty much. We got a few more fears to clear, and that it resets the whole program. Well, how does it reset the whole program? Well, let's get it more clear. We clear that fear, we stopped reacting to the old program, and the the life that is truly here for us to live in and with, we start doing. I don't even want to call that a program, but the actuality.
Instead of having the atmosphere, we could have an atmosphere.
Yes.
Clear all that. That's what it is. So we've always thought it's just surrounding us. So.
And this is the beauty of, what's been shared at the Emerald Table and all around the world with which we're all doing in our hearts. And I'm sharing with you, Mike, how do you tackle world poverty, clear this fear? Michael, how do you tackle giving everyone a shelter, clear these fears? Michael, how do you solve the whatever? Yeah, clear these fears. Why? Because we'll no longer be running that. You'll no longer be running that program where that happens.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
So heartlines are open, 347-326-9530 if you'd like to call in. Hit 1 on your dial, whatever, Critical Mass, Blog Talk, all of that. Get the app, whatever else I'm supposed to share. Thankfully, I am. And, yeah, let me open up some mics here. So, anyone else like to chime in? Aloha.
How are you this morning?
Yeah.
Just got on. I've been helping my son for 3 or 4 days here, putting in some windows in a house, and so I hadn't been on any of the shows at all, or even been able to listen to them. So I kind of caught up on some of Kate's shows, but yeah, it sounds like some pretty cool things going on. Just got on your show this morning. Not sure what you've been talking about, but I like that atmosphere. That was beautiful, Janet.
Oh, thanks, Michael. It's good to hear your voice. Yeah.
Yeah. While I've been working, I've been thinking about this appearance that that they want this dead fictional name to show up, and trying to make my decisions. I've been wrestling with that and searching my heart and soul, but long process. Not a very deep well, but seems like there's a lot of stuff to clear out. So, what have you been talking about this morning? Maybe I can get up to speed.
Well, we've been sharing, Michael, about how, here you are. You're a parent working, helping, assisting your son. And it's about how, on an interpersonal, interrelated level, that we can either come from love or fear. So when we sometimes go to assist someone, the fear program slips in, and it's just like, yeah, I got to get these windows in for you. The weather will come, and you'll be hurt. Or, you like this. Or let's get these windows up so when the weather comes in, you don't have, puddles in your kitchen. You don't want that. Big difference. Same action, but one you came from the feeling of the heart and you resonated with that and you expressed yourself from that. The other one was you're coming from the heart, but then you tuned into the fear and you expressed that.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's really interesting that you say that, because the whole reason he wanted to put these windows in was to get more light. So yeah, he was definitely looking at the he has a real long bedroom. It's an old house built in the 30s, and it's been added to. So we're not sure when this section was added to, but it's like probably a 23, 24-foot room. Well, actually, they even extended out longer, but he made part of it into a walk-in closet. But they only had one window, and it's like you couldn't really see much out of that window. So they wanted to put 4 bigger windows in place of that one. And mainly, the main reason was for the light. Then he said, "Oh, well, maybe I didn't think this." Of course, he doesn't have curtains up yet, but he was saying the light wouldn't let him sleep in the morning. So it was kind of, but yeah, you're right. And it's funny because my wife and I were doing some talking this morning and hashing something out, and I've been, like I said, been searching my heart on this matter of whether or not to take, to go to court and make a stand, or just to make a stand from outside. But what I started doing is pretty unusual for me. I told my wife to take a picture. I got the Bible out, and I was starting to look up the references for Jesus and when he went to court, and the fact that he didn't speak and he was drugged there and so forth, and because that's something that's been on my mind. But doing that, I came across the allegory of Peter, where Jesus said that you'll all betray me, and Peter said, "No, not I." And he said, "Before the cock crows thrice, you will deny me. Before the cock crows, you will deny me thrice." And that just struck me, and I said to my wife, I said, "Can you imagine for a moment what might have happened in this story if Peter had taken the stand, if he'd have stood on what he believed or thought at that time, that Jesus was the living Christ, supposedly, in the story, but he yet out of fear, as you pointed out, out of fear, and it can't. The bottom line has to be he feared for his life. There's no other reason to not take the stand if he was the follower of supposedly the living Christ. Well, it's like what kind of a difference? What a different story we would have had if there was somebody that got the message that the story is telling us of how to live, and had taken that stand and not valued his own life. Yes, supposedly he wrote a couple books and done all this, and it's like, but she asked me the question. She says, "Well, what would have happened?" And I said, "I think heaven and earth would have moved because of somebody standing in truth." And that's what keeps coming up for me. It's like I keep looking at, the layers and layers of things, and it's like I just don't want to be mired down. And I know all we got to do is stop giving our power to it. Several people at the table put that really well, but it's like I just want to stand up in the truth and speak the truth and be my truth, whatever that is. And I people can point fingers at me and say that I've changed over the years to this or that, and I may change again. I may discover a deeper truth for me, or something that for me that works. But it's like right now, it's the difference between the living and the dead, and the what I'm calling the truth as the living, and the lies. Wow, I'm wrestling with that, because I want to stand in truth. I don't want to run from it, and I don't want to fight. I have no interest in fighting or winning or proving anyone wrong, but just taking a stand in what is ultimately my truth. And thank you guys for sharing yours. It's been great. And anyway, I've said enough, but thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah. And like,
you could never say too much, Mike. You really can't, because all that is good information. And what you're standing in, by you just wanting to stand up, you are being the warrior. We hear it in the universe. The words that you're saying, like Kate taught us about intent, is always the intent, and your intent is to always stand up in righteousness. And you recognize that there is a weird polarity, that you know that there is negative and there is positive. You choose to be, not to use the negative and positive as one being bad or good, but you just choose to have that positive way of life that we have described as being positive, with the smiles on our faces, with the joy, with the helping hand, with the sharing and the caring of others. That's the path that you have chosen, and that is a very good one. That's you talking about the Bible. If Peter had stood up instead of doing what he did, then Jesus' prediction would not have been true. But then Jesus knew before it even happened that this man was going to fall by the wayside. But by the same token, Jesus was letting Peter know, I'm always with you. I love you even in your faults and in your goodness, because I know you get ready to make a big fault once you be confronted before the crow cock 3 times. So he did exactly what was designated to do, to let us know, the readers know, that he was that Jesus knew that he could predict what would happen in the future, and that's why we are his followers, because we too have those type of skills.
Thank you, Barbara.
All right, we got 25 minutes here until the rollover. Thank you all for tuning into Gaia Sophia Dreaming. Let me play the little jingle here. Yeah, and like we were saying earlier, it's not about following, it's about walking hand in hand with. I'm sure that's what, if there's a Jesus or a Buddha or Krishna, that's what they did, and that's what they do. They walk hand in hand with you. That's how we're one.
Their walls are falling. The momentum is now with us. It's our time now. At the most pivotal point in history is Critical Mass Radio, 24/7 Truth Radio. Help us to help you. Please go to www.criticalmassradio.co.uk and subscribe £1, £2 or £3 a month. The critical mass has been reached. We must come together. We must stand together. For ourselves, for each other, for our future generations. criticalmassradio.co.uk. Now, it's our turn.
So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Let's keep this flowing. Got some pink happening where I am. The light is here. There's a few ways I wanted to go with this. It's really interesting sitting here since equinox, and how the light's changed here, and how it's really easier for me to see some things and tune in with some things. There's something I wanted to share, was this post I read online from Iris, and about an experience she had, I guess quite recently. And when I'm reminded of stories of this nature that some of us still experience, and then how she just so beautifully was or is herself. We still have others, in a way, perpetuating this fraudulent system on another in more ways than one. And that's not the world I live in. It's not the world I want to see. It's fear masked as reality. And the insinuation of, I'm here to protect you, or to see, what's the word? I'm here to render assistance or to make sure you're okay. But truthfully, that's not your intention. Your intention was the opposite, to cause harm. Man, I'm just sick and tired. That's what you get. You get sick and tired from dealing with that, because it makes you sick and tired. And that's just, I just find that so degrading. And this is what it's coming to, where I was sharing this fear. I go up to someone, it's a close one, they hurt themselves, and I'm like, why'd you hurt yourself? Man, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't listen to me. Okay, wash your bandage, do this, fix this. And I'm like, wow, man, Mike, that really wasn't the best way to handle your situation. Now I'm going to project this out. Now you meet somebody in the street. I don't care if it's a policeman or whoever. But generally it's someone who's coming, hey, you're sitting there. Usually we say minding your own. I was minding my own business. But no, you weren't minding your own business. There was no business to mind, because we ain't part of that world. We ain't part of that concept. And so we are there enjoying ourselves. And these other, I guess, points of view or beings, I'm not even sure I want to call them that, come up to see if everything's all right with you. And you say, well, of course, I'm enjoying this beauty. Well, we just wanted to check to make sure everything's okay with you. Well, as a matter of fact, it is. Can't you see? Where's your ID? Why would I need that? And then the story gets twisted and turned. And I'm like, wow. So you came to render assistance if possible. And I thanked you and said, no assistance needed here. I'm quite able and capable of enjoying myself. Please carry on. Maybe there is somewhere that your assistance can be useful. But right here, I'm okay. So if that was your intent, you would have strolled on your merrily way to see which cat you could pull out of a tree, or which, well, usually it's suspicious robbery or theft or whatever harm that is what you're supposedly looking for to stop. Now, again, I'm describing a situation, but this is kind of just take it back to your own story without the kind of bigger drama I'm describing. Do they walk in their merrily way now? No. They press the issue. Ego arises and says, well, I'm not even sure. This is just ego. This is some other ego attaches, more like it, to this false program. You know? And now it's We're fearful of you. You need to show some idea because we don't know who you are and we're fearful of you. But you just came here to assist me and I was enjoying myself quite naturally. And as you shared, there was nothing to fear. Now you're bringing a fear into the picture where there was none. You brought that in. So even if someone hurts themselves, there's not necessarily any fear there. I bumped my own head. I don't have to be fearful. But somebody came and says, "Oh, are you okay? Why didn't you listen to me? What's wrong with you? Where's your ID? Who are you?" And I'm like, wow, look at how that just jumps into the fucking program, jumps into the picture. It just all of a sudden went from have a nice day to this other story. Like, what's wrong with you? And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, wow, how does that come into the picture? How do someone, and Maria brought this up earlier in the chat. You can go on Skype, Gaia Sophia Dreaming. We have a little room there. And so how does this happen in our more interpersonal relation? We see how it plays out more with the public, whether it's somebody in a store, somebody you might work with, police, where we normally see these dramas. But these dramas are happening usually in your family. And if they're not happening there, they're happening inside of you. And this is weird to say, but there's something there inside of you. And I'm like, what is it? This fear jumps in. You're standing in truth, and this fear keeps trying to jump in. And man, I was reading Iris, what she had posted. I'm like, wow, she just, like, we atmosphere clear. She did a whole lot of clearing, man, of atmosphere. Just beautiful. And so what I'm sharing here is then someone comes to supposedly help you, and now they're going to now hurt you because of something you didn't do, which was show, I don't know, obedience, obeyance, what? A license, an ID? What is behind that? What's the fear behind me having to now show you something to say that's me? I give you your fictional thing that you can then run and go, yep, nothing attached to this. No warrant, no get out, get up, whatever. But there's still, and then they'll go, oh yeah, you're free to go. And so I'm always free, so fuck off. You're free to, no, you should be free, but you're not fucking, as long as you're playing that monkey role. Inside, your ego, attaching to that, not you. So, how does it that we, whether I'm sharing this, you're playing with any role, a nurse, a cop, a teacher, a fellow worker, a friend, let's take it off these roles where it gets polarized, and then we don't quite get to the heart of the matter. And so here it is, someone coming to supposedly help you who's then going to cause you harm. And I'm like, wow, that's got to end. That's got to end. We got to stop playing that. And I recognize that in my little reality here, I'll call it for the moment. where something happens and I get fearful. And then I project that out. And it's causing, it can cause more harm to a situation that was only hurtful. You only hurt yourself, you didn't harm yourself. Your spirit's intact, your soul is one. So now I'm looking at this going, okay, picture coming clearer. So the body got hurt, but there's still no harm. And now, if you pump more fear into this now, you tune into that atmosphere, you watch now how that can turn into harm. Because now you're blaming someone. Why'd you do that? What are you, stupid? You didn't listen to me? That's a kind of one-on-one. Now here's it in another situation where you don't accept who I am. So now you're going to hurt me? Even though I'm not causing any harm to you, but you have a problem accepting who I am, and now you want to cause harm to me based on a fear you got because you can't accept who I am, who's causing you no harm. But you have the potential to hurt me because I don't know who you are. I'm me. Yeah, but who is that? Show me your fictional reality that I can relate to. I don't relate to that anymore. So you can't relate to me in that realm. But I'm fearful. I want to cause you harm now. This is the fucking man, I'm telling you. I'm sharing with you, excuse me. And so then it goes, somehow then that harm, in that moment, they're like, okay, you're free to go now, like I was sharing earlier. You stood your ground, but that fear is still there. You still walked away. You're still clear. Beautiful. But that thing that you showed me is still there. And I'm like, wow, we got to clear that atmosphere. And so beings don't do that to one another. And then, especially if you're playing a role of authority figure, you don't do that. And that's pretty much any job. You can play that ego game. Any role you can play that I'm the authority. You got to do what I say. And that comes right down to a parental role of the authority. And I'm like, we keep tuning into that fear and messing that stuff up, man, where we're coming with the supposed intent of love and to assist, and it turns into fear and harm and making a hurtful, a potential, well, maybe causing harm. The intent changes to harm. I'm like, wow, it just went from love. You tuned into fear, and the intent is now harm. And we see this dynamic being played out with the police officers and so-called citizens. And we see this being played out there at on the larger stage. And what I'm sharing is how we do it on our own stage at home. When we see it on the larger stage, we see that and we're like, man, that doesn't resonate with me. I don't like that. I want that to stop and no more. But Mike, who will protect us? Well, not those guys. They never did. They just came after the fact. So, about 7 minutes here. So, this atmosphere clearing we're doing, this sphere. If we're in a sphere, now here's the word, fear, sphere, atmosphere. We're in these kind of layers. We're getting right to the core of it. What's covering, kind of distorting this core intent of love where the fear slips in? It's really that black and white. It's like your frequency gets hijacked and distorted and tuned into fear, and you watch the intent changes to harm, and you can see if the story plays out from there, where you can get arrested, you can have a big fight, you can harm someone, you can say very harmful things to another, and really now injure someone's psyche, their feelings, their, and then the drama and the trauma grows. And then we don't get to where we can clear this fear from our atmosphere and come into this clarity that we all live in, truly live.
The aloha.
Yeah, the aloha, the lokahi.
Yeah.
Unity, balance, harmony. Aloha. So yeah, our lines are open. Anyone else like to share? Please feel free to chime in.
Aloha, everyone. Much love.
Much
Michael,
love.
you were talking. I love that, Janet. Atmos clear. I wanted to share. Aloha.
Aloha. Hi, Barbara.
Aloha, Barbara. Michael.
Aloha.
Hi, Michael. I think he's still there. I heard his voice.
Yes. Hi, Colin.
The other Michael. Hi.
How are you?
You're talking about fear, and I was writing down earlier. You said less reacting, and right when you said that, I was writing letting go, and right when I was writing that, I'm sitting outside, and a hummingbird came right in front of me, and that buzzing sound. It's like that vibration, and just hanging out here for a minute. I have some flowers in front of me, and just was here in front of me. And so what you were just saying, and then it is all that, the fear, and it's going back to the aloha, the love. And that's where our strength is. And you clear the atmosphere, you clear it when you remember that and you go back to that place. And it can be a huge challenge when you have, that situation you were just speaking of, Michael. And I had shared a while back of the experience I had with the police in my parked car. Yeah, and I just went with a huge open heart to this guy, and he reflected that back.
So how
he closed his not.
Yeah, he reflected it back. That was so beautiful, and that's tremendous in clearing that this atmosphere. And
just
how
like that.
Now we're writing the script, right? You're writing the script, and then, there's this, like I described it as a stage, and they're acting it out. And I'm like, how do we now write this script where we don't play into that role, where we cause fear instead of aloha, lokahi, love? If you're truly I'm here to assist you and help you. Otherwise, I don't care what costume you have on, you're either coming from love or harm, love or fear. And what we're this is what I'm really trying to clear this, is because, and you hear me where it comes from. It comes from me. I was describing the story of me and my mom. And immediately I didn't project out again and said it was the city truck. It could have, taken us out, or it was these guys, or it was the police, or it was this big bad guy, or the system. I brought it right back, or whoever wrote the program above, or whoever big bad wolf you want to describe. I brought it right back into home. Where do we initiate this? And And I'm like, 'cause this is where we clear it. And so as you're writing that script, how is this where we don't do that in our life? This is the point. And we're almost here.
Well, you don't, it's like you don't even attract it anymore, because if we rewind and we go back to the understanding and the awareness that we're creating it all, we're manifesting every experience that we have, we become aware that we don't have to do that anymore. So it will happen less and less in your life. And that's what I was thinking of. I feel I have, my invisibility cloak is love and kindness. And so when I'm out in the world, and that's what's around me, and so that's what I attract. You know, when you think about it, how could it be any other way? Because everything in our energy field, and it, you know, I don't know how far out it goes. There's different ideas about that, you know, back to the numbers, and it's this and that. It's what you feel. It's what you feel it is, and what you know it is for yourself. So you're out in the world and you have this energy field all around you. Is it filled with love and kindness and wanting that for all, or is it filled with fear, jealousy, I'm not good enough, all that? That's what you're walking around with. And so how do you clear that and bring it back to the aloha and the love? And I of course have done that through meditation for 25 years and going deep and dark and connecting with nature. That's, you know, that's where my greatest teacher has been. But I just wanted to share with nature, and then I'll let someone else talk, the hummingbird. You know, I always like to bring in the medicine of the animals. So when we're talking about the fear and letting go, the hummingbird spirit animal symbolizes the enjoyment of life and lightness of being. Those who have the hummingbird as a totem are invited to enjoy the sweetness of life, lift up negativity wherever it creeps in, and express love more fully in their daily endeavors. This fascinating bird is capable of the most amazing feats despite its small size, such as traveling great distances or being able to fly backwards. By affinity with the hummingbird, those who have this bird as totems may be encouraged to develop their adaptability and resiliency while keeping a playful and optimistic outlook. Now, is that a powerful message?
Yes, it was, Colleen.
Yes, thank you.
Can you say that last one again? The last few lines, Colleen?
Yes. Okay. By affinity with the hummingbird, those who have this bird as totem may be encouraged to develop their adaptability and resiliency while keeping a playful and optimistic outlook.
Yep, keep the smile on our face. Yeah, You were doing, as you were sharing that, I was remembering something I was experiencing the day before. As you're just reading this, I was just like, wow, yeah. Yeah, I could have smiled a lot more. It's just like, even if you're not like saying, sitting in the how to describe it clear, the company you keep. Let's just say that you're in a bigger area, and you're free to, like I said, roam about the cabin. It's open. You don't have to you're not obligated to sit anywhere in particular. And if people come, you know, it's sometimes just a reminder you to shift and you know, sometimes when I shift, I don't do it with a smile on my face. I'm like, a little grumpy. And I'm like, there's my ego playing one of the seven dwarfs. And and I'm like, wow, Mike, look at that. Look how you were, you know, kind of just didn't just keep your inner harmony, your inner smile. And I think this is, it's good for me because I'm looking at it as my responsibility for me and my balance. That being flexible and adaptable, I'm recognizing that big time. That's, you know, how I've had to be most of my life. But as in being flexible and adaptable, and I really like to play, it's that keeping that you shared right at the end there, keeping that I related to smile on my face, because sometimes I'll get down. Yeah. I'm like, just always having to bend and sway and move, you know, being adaptable and flexible gets tiring. And so this is where I was getting it clear. It's pretty much black and white. I don't care what costume, uniform, role you're playing, whether it's a parent, whatever job you have, whatever position you are doing or owning up to, it doesn't matter. Brother, sister, cousin, uncle, and whatever, lifeguard, healer, light worker, officer of the law, justice of the peace, politician, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever job role, actor, student, it doesn't, all of these things are included. You're either gonna be with love, resonate with this, and live. And if you choose to continue to have as your dominant frequency, where you tune into the fear, and your intent now is to cause harm to another being, this is the black and white. This is the where we are now, and this has come to an end. Really, for me, this is where your intent is to cause harm to another being, is your dominant frequency, or whatever we want to say. And Mike, well, what are you talking? This human, that human? No, I'm not even drawing a line anywhere in the sand. This is for all. It's like, if that's your operating frequency, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Aloha. That's what we got to come to for. And this isn't me saying anything outside of all is one. This is still the knowledge. All is one. We're living as
and
one.
Like that.
You
yes,
just,
and like that.
Okay, please.
No, finish your thought, Mike.
It's where some people will call it. Again, they'll. I don't want to put labels, but psychopaths or people without a heart, vampires, evil. These are descriptive words. Somebody from another place, a different religion, where we will divide and get confused. And I'm like, I'm not throwing any of those descriptions up there. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is whoever, whoever, you cannot operate in the frequency of fear here anymore. If you want to choose to do that, it's it's going to be somewhere else. So if your spirit or whatever is attached to it, you're going to go over there. Where over there is, we can get a little more specific on that later. But it ain't here. You're like, what, Mike? What does that mean? Well, this is the picture we've been painting. And what I've been describing from what we've been describing and sharing from the beginning is, how am I related to that? How do I do that in my own life where I do that same action? And I want to clear that for me, like completely shine my mirror out of that, from that. Yeah, I where I'm not causing that harm in my intent to myself, and to anyone else, anything else. That's my pure intent. And so here I'm saying, if I'm connected to that frequency of fear, it's bye-bye Mike. All right? It isn't like I'm separate from what I'm saying. And I'm trying to clear every last bit of me. And I'm like, okay, that isn't me. Cut. Yep, cut. That ain't me. Oop, that's how I still, that's me. You know, I'm like, okay.
No, and the more you clear it,
yeah,
the more you clear it, the lighter you feel, don't you, Mike? Like the hummingbird's lightness of being. Because when you're carrying these heavy burdens of fear and anger and judgment, your energy is so much heavier, and you'll never be able to travel great distances or fly backwards like the hummingbird if you're bogged down with this heaviness.
Yes, and what I'm describing isn't just me. I'm like the last deckhand on the ship, and it was my job to swap the deck. And I'm like going as fast as I can, cleaning it, and I'm like, shh, Mike, come on, you can do it. And I'm like, here's the last bit, come on, it's like this, and I'm like,
you missed the spot.
Yeah, and I'm like, and it's not just my ship. This is what I'm getting at. I'm like, this is a bird here. Come. But I'm glad I put it that way. Everyone's, so I can let go of my fear that not everyone is crossed. That's the, you know what I mean? Not everyone is cleared the deck. That's kind of been some of our fear. We've been holding the bridge, so to say, the door, making sure everyone comes through. You guys have heard this, about the Rainbow Bridge, and this was one of my, we'll call it missions, and was hold to post until everyone crosses. And now I'm reminding what I've been shared myself, everyone's crossed. And just like I shared, I'm just like clearing up the last bit of fear, and then time for me to cross over too, so to say. Jump ship.
Well, I know something that's clear from fear is that young man. You remember, Mike, the other night somebody called in and said a hummingbird had been in their house 2 or 3 times in that same day.
Oh, that was Chris, yeah.
Yeah.
So, girl, when he hears that explanation that you just gave about the meaning of a hummingbird, you know he gonna be his smile for days and days. 3 times. Just came on in like he knew him. Hey, Chris, scoot over here. I come again. Yeah, that type of attitude.
Yep.
So he's in a very place.
The ship we're jumping is kind of the enslavement ship, where we enslaved part of ourselves to a fictional reality, and it was tied there by fear, connected to drama, and it didn't matter what. Well, there was many events, But even these core events that happen that initialize this trauma, just as we clear it here is, in a way, taking a breath and just releasing. It's the same for that. We might think, oh, it's deeper, it's bigger, it's heavier, it's the root. You know, we do it the same way. We tune in with our heart, we tune in with our heart soul essence, and we be, and we no longer resonate.
It's instantaneous now.
Yeah, we don't resonate with that feeling anymore.
No, and the energies now are really, you make a decision. Here's the hummingbird again. You make a decision, and you tweak your channel, and you get on the station or channel that you want. Instantaneous. It's no more that we have to go deep in these dark, ugly stories anymore. That was beneficial at one time, if you want to call it time. Now the energy is supportive to clear it in a flash, to awake in a flash. Go to your heart, go to your knowing, and you can change it. Already gone. And I wanted to share one more, just the one sentence here. It's beautiful. The hummingbird's wisdom carries an invitation to take part in and draw to you life's sweetness like you would drink the nectar of your own flower. The nectar is within you.
Share this one more time.
The hummingbird's wisdom carries an invitation to take part in and draw to you life's sweetness like you would drink the nectar of your own flower.
Right here in our heart. Yeah.
Walter Payton. Walter Payton. Sweetness, yes. That kind of sweetness. Walter Payton.
So here we are. We're about 15 minutes into the rollover. A few more minutes. We can keep it flowing. It's always flowing. The heart. Gaia Sophia dreaming. As we start truly resonating, living in the world that we've been dreaming of in our heart. And now we're going to start living it. And not in another time, not in another place. So all tune into your heart. Thank you for tuning into Gaia Sophia Dreaming, which is beautiful, and as Colleen and Barbara and Alvita and all you, Janet and all, Kate, all you wonderful, beautiful beings that tune in with the Emerald Table, and
Michael.
Yeah.
And Mike.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Aloha, Alvita. I didn't hear her. Come on.
Yeah.
Aloha. I'm here.
Always here.
A little late, but I made it.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to roll this to 3 hours. I don't know if it's possible because of the hours, what time, so-called time it's getting into in the UK and when the other shows are starting. And I'm even thinking of going earlier here. But it's my reminder of, like with Kate, man, our plan is not to continue doing this, what some people would call a show. This is not our plan. We come on the show to tune in with Gaia Sophia and to, in a word, do some work.
Yeah.
And that's part of that work is sharing that wisdom, which is the living truth.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
My wife has been listening in, And some of the things that Colleen said have spoken to her heart, and she wanted to share something, if it's all right. Her name is Kathy.
Yeah, for sure.
Welcome, Kathy. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha, Kathy.
It's hold on. It's what you had said about the hummingbird, and you had said to drink. It calls you to drink, if I remember it correctly, the nectar that is inside you. And the thought that resonated in my heart was, and then give it away. That's it.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's to be shared. It's thank you for bringing it even fuller into home, because that's what, like, from your heart. And when we share from our heart, that's when we realize, hey, we're all home. We're all living. This is one family, one soul family. I'm this soul family. I'm that soul family. For all intents and purposes, at this moment, we're one soul family. Multidimensional beings, beyond all limiting constructs. It's this sharing that is so intimate in with our being here. That sharing. We're not. If we could just be here all day long, without sharing it, like I said, the picture ain't complete. And so, thank you for bringing that home.
Thank you, Kathy. And you know, when you're so full of that nectar, and you're vibrating in that nectar, you can't help but share it with everyone. It's part of who it's part of who you are. Yes.
Yeah, it's meant to be shared, and it is the one constant love. That universal love is the only single one constant that is true.
Mm-hmm.
And it demonstrates that feeling of family. Family really comes to clear view when you share it like that. Mike, you do some poetry for us today. The point, what's those girls' names? Sister Sledge. We are family.
Yeah.
Check those lyrics out, Mike. Read them to us and tell us what those girls were talking about back in the day when they were saying we are family.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And each one of us.
A good coach knows that his team is only as strong as his weakest player, and that's true for all entities.
And for me, that weakest player, that person we called the weakest, that we'd use this word, maybe he was filling the last role that needed to be, right? And we look at it as maybe the weakest, and it's just like, no, none of you guys are doing that one, and so he filled that one. You guys, and you gotta look at it. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
and then he flip the script, he'll be number one. If he flip the script, the weakest will be at the top.
Necessary one, the one that we all ain't doing, that weakest link is doing.
And the team represents, each player represents a part of us, each playing a different role. And so the one that is referred to as the weaker is that, Michael, it's what we need to look at, that piece that maybe needs a little tweaking.
The rest of the team comes around and comes underneath that weakest player and lifts him up, then that whole team goes even higher.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, so we got to kind of roll out of here. Thank you all for tuning in to Gaia Sophia Dreaming. Please chime in any thing you guys want to share until we all come to the table. We're always at the emerald table. That's the beauty of where we are now as one. Thank you for tuning in.
I would just like to say,
yep.
in closing, just connecting into that sweetness. And I've been noticing more kind of judgment of, like on Facebook, almost kind of like an underlying anger, expecting people to do things the way that you're doing them, and connecting into like the hummingbird sweetness of really understanding we've each come to play a different part, and each of our parts are unique and look different from each other. And without each one of our parts, it will not flow.
Correct. That is correct.
Unconditional love, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We all helping each other live our life and figure this stuff out, you know. We're doing it through each other, so sharing is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all, and much aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.
Love you. Great creation.
Yeah. So let's go out and create some more stuff today. Wake somebody
You're
else up.
listening to Critical Mass Radio. Now it's our turn.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Woohoo. Aloha.
Ooh. Aloha.
I love you.
I'm looking at this, and so when I try to have this conversation, Janet, it's like it's projected back onto me as my problem, and I'm like, no, it's this. It's all of us. Can you look at it like this? And it's hard for people to grasp. We're healing the planet. We're doing this, or they're doing individual work on somebody, and I'm always like, man, 15, 20 years. Like, you guys are doing the same motion. You're doing the same motion. And you're getting the same friggin' results. And I'm here going, same pretty much spot in terms of, yes, that's good, yes, that's good, but you're forgetting the big picture one. And that's the point I've always held to. I'm like, I agree with all those others, but if you leave out the base, forget it. You guys are just window dressing in my book. And that goes for all you healers out there. All you light workers who call yourselves healers or whatever. And, I'm healing him through him. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? Stop healing each other for a moment. Seriously. Stop thinking you're helping this person heal them. Or I'm going to talk you through it, because I'm like, yeah, we could do that until the cow jumps over the moon. Over and over again. And you know we're going to do it over and over again? Because you haven't cleared this kind of lingering fear, this almost last remnants of hidden fear, kind of. When I say lingering, it's almost this, because we're going to keep tuning into that and repeating it again. Oh, I got to clear your aura. You got this block again, and then you clear it, and then you wonder why it comes up again, because we haven't cleared it for the all. I've been trying to clear it for the all for a long time. I'm like, yeah, but you got to do it for yourself. I'm like, oh, man. No, we are all doing it for ourselves. We're here, right? I just took a breath, right? That person over there just breathed, right? They're doing something, right? They're at least alive. They're doing something. Okay? So quit judging who's doing what and not doing what. I mean, I got to do that for myself also. But I'm like, we keep putting other things first. And I'm like, unless you clear this, program still runs in people's imagination. And then you're going to talk to me about 2015 or whatever junk. And even if that so-called year rolls around, you know what my two letters I'm going to still share with you? F, U. We're still in a linear time construct of the old paradigm. And then you're going to blame the system or whatever alien or whatever devil of your own making. And then I'll be sitting with whatever being you're slagging off going, look, man, they're still friggin' calling you out, even though you don't do that anymore. Yeah, isn't it a bitch? Yeah, man.
Yeah. Just getting the
So
now.
Yeah. It's like everything's in the now. Everything's in the present moment. Yeah, and 2015 comes. I don't even want to talk about it. Or 2014 summer. Let's just go more immediate since it's still spring. Bringing more so-called immediate. You know, I mean, bullshit. But I'm just going to call it bullshit. I was listening to George Kavassilis and Kurt Kallenbach, and, you know, usually I don't want to say people's names, man, because I listen to both of these guys. I like both of these guys. They resonate with me in so many ways. But this is where I hear it with all these guys, and I'm like, how do you guys talk about everything being now in the present eternal moment, and then you go, well, maybe in some friggin' future time, this will get resolved. Huh? Do you just hear yourself?
Then it's canceled. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You just canceled it out. Maybe if we all come together in whatever date in whatever year, then maybe something will change. What the? Please, go back and listen to yourself. And then I got to hear, oh, man, that's great. Yeah, we'll go into this next. I'm like, guys, I don't know what you've been dealing with. I don't know what's going on in your personal life.
It's like that song, open up your plans and then you're free. You know, you don't have plans. You stay in.
Basically. Try and be like him. That's the program. I'm not saying Jesus, Buddha, or Krishna ever said those words, but that's kind of our operation, that there's one Savior. Even though the Savior said you're it. And so is each and every one of us. But our thinking flips into that. And I'm like, oh. That's why this is a together thing. This is a team effort, a group effort, a family effort, actually. A family cause. And I got my finger on it again, and I'm like, here it is. It's like there's a insect running around loose on your counter. And I've put my finger on it so it doesn't run around anymore. But if I lift my finger off of it, it's going to scatter. It's going to just run amok again. And I'm like, guys, I got my finger on it. Will you guys please come over and help me clear this? And, well, Mike, what is this you're talking about? Well, it's a simple concept, and it's coming clearer. And it's the knowledge that all is self. And what that means is there's no separation. There's no division. And when we have others to in a way, look at things, it's kind of funny, look at things in the same way, but it's not from your mental perspective or your opinion. It's almost to see things in the same light. And this isn't my light projection. It's just like, shine light, and it's just like, hey man, can you see this now? It's just like, yes. And that's all I'm asking. Take a look at this one now. Okay, I got that off my chest. So, thank you for tuning in, Gaia Sophia Dreaming. The number is 347-326-9530. Heart lines are always open. You can go Blog Talk, Critical Mass Radio, Gaia Sophia Dreaming, Skype in, call in, find your way in, press 1. You are the miracle. And please feel free to chime in. Aloha.
Aloha, Mike. Aloha,
hey, Janet.
everyone. Hi, how are you doing? Sound good.
Yeah. Well, just a few things, they keep coming up, and then I'm trying to get, you know me, I'm trying to get to the root of these things. Trying to get to the root.
So simple, but I don't know how to put it into words, but my heart totally resonates with exactly what you're saying, that lingering, clearing that we do for all, so it keeps coming back, and it does keep coming back.
Yeah, and then when I try and explain it, it's like, Mike, what's your? It's associated with me, and I'm like, no, I'm not talking about me. Well, I am magnetic electric. I'm talking about all. And then it's projected on, like many times I'll be having a conversation, and I'll bring up the underlying fear, the collective, what the collective mind is kind of stuck on. And instead of recognizing as that's what I'm bringing up, it's, Mike, what's wrong with your ego? And I'm like, actually, I got this down. I have no problem with this. This doesn't fuck with my life.
Mm-mm.
But guess what? I'm not separate than the all, so it does distort, mess with the life, our life. So, hey, I'm not separate, so if it messes with one of us, I'm going to look at it.
Yeah, it
messes
messes with
all
all
of us. Exactly. So
You're listening to Critical Mass Radio. Now it's our turn.
aloha. Gaia Sophia, Dreaming Mike here. Much love and thanks. Deep gratitude. Thank you for all tuning in and connecting with the heart. We are always connected and live as one. Where are we going with this fine day we're all having here? Oh, the day hasn't even begun for me. It's still 4 a.m. in the Hawaiian dream time. It's overcast, so the stars aren't shining, so there's not much light out there at the moment. Out here, because I'm outside. And ocean sounding, resonating beautifully in the foreground. Usually we say background, say foreground and facing the ocean. This intimate connection we have with nature and all. And where does the confusion lie in this? What is this? Well, it hasn't come quite clear in my mind of what is the false reality, the system. Where does it begin? Where does it end? How are we interacting with this and deluding ourselves that what we're actually dealing with is the real deal? So how do I know if what I'm... So this is part of the confusion that we're hoping to clear here. And part of trying to clear this is describe it. Many times I find myself dancing around the subject, so to say. People are like, Mike, you're confusing. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, man, this ain't my problem I'm trying to describe here. We all talk about service to all. Many of the things I bring up, they're like, man, what's wrong with you? I'm like, this ain't me. This is the collective. This is what's in all of our mind, so to say, that we've been playing as a background program that's been actually leading our lives. And they're like, oh, man. And I'm just like kind of tired, really tired of it. Since I bring it up being projected as my problem or my thing to deal with. I'm like, man, I recognize my aspect of it, where it plays out in my life, how it's manifesting or showing me this lesson in my life, this truth. And I'm like, oh, wow. And so when I see it, and then, I look beyond myself, I see the bigger picture, how it's connected to all, how we all, and this was version, or so to say, the way I relate it to this fear or truth. Because many times they go hand in hand, and the fact that this fear is masquerading or clouding over this truth. It's distorting this frequency from the heart. And I'm like, okay. And it's like, sometimes it's hard to describe. And if we would recognize, oh, it's not just Mike, this is all of us, I'd be a sigh of relief. Yes, please, thank you. Can we all take a look at this for a moment? Not get caught up in whatever was running through your mind. And this is when you realize, and I know it's kind of it's not a new concept, but it hasn't been practiced in a while, or it hasn't been, we haven't quite been aware of it. Because I was sharing, and I talk with healers and people who've done healing work in the past.
Now.
Yeah. And so I look at this, Janet, and it's just, it's perplexing to me. And see, this is where I'm like, dancing around this thing. I'm going to get it. We're going to get it. I know it. We're doing it. And with these other beings that I tune into, where I'm like, wow, it would be great if you guys would shift your focus for a moment, have a look at this, and then take a look again. Oh, man, I've been holding this for a while, and it's not just me. I know this. But like I said, I've got my finger on that cockroach, and I'm like, guys, will you come over here and take a look at it? Because as soon as I lift my finger, it's going to scatter, and you won't be able to see it as clear. And they're like, la, 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 call me for healing work. La, 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 you want me on your show to fucking... Yeah, I'm too busy. I'm like, you're too busy to heal this, to really get to the root of this cause? To the root of this cause? Right. Yeah, I was awakened in 2003, and I did this, and we've been doing this. We've been on the truth movement 10 years. Hey, guys, I've had my finger on this for 15 years, if you want to put it in your linear friggin' time frame. 15 years, and I've been asking you guys, come, look, here it is, man. And who put my finger on it? I'll tell you who put my finger on it. Nature. Gaia Sophia did, man. Mm-hmm. And I got it. Here it is. Come. Have a look at this. And you're going to laugh when you finally do. You're going to be like, oh, Mike, yeah, we heard you, man. Because I'm doing this in my own way, to my own self. Because there's something that somebody else has their finger on and has been saying, Mike, will you come take a look at this? It's for the benefit of you and all. And I've been like, yeah, no, man, I'm too busy doing this and, doing this. Man, I got it in my own way. So I'm not pointing out others to call them out. I'm just... hey, have a look in this sandbox for a moment. And some other kid's saying to me, hey, Mike, have a look in this sandbox. See what's going here. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And I'm doing that. I'd like some to come over and take a look at this. If you're telling me, you're sharing with me that you're doing this, with the planet or with Mother Earth or Gaia, and you're a healer, light worker on the internet, because there's many beings, they ain't got no connection through this internet, no connection, presence online, and you guys, just because you have a presence online, that you think you're some leader.
We don't need leaders.
Or you think, yeah, man,
leaders
we got
with no followers.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I know many of these beings, they don't have that ego, but I'm sharing with you, they're still caught in a mental construct, whether they want to recognize it or not, of fighting the game.
It's so
fighting
weird.
Being at effect with it. Yeah. Because I hear it, and I'm like, oh, man, I ain't waiting that long again.
I've been protecting out for so much of his life. It's like, no, it's all right now.
yeah, that projecting outwards that gets me. You project out. It entails us waiting. We don't need to. It's just a lot of things. So here I am. That's kind of my lingering fear, and this is something I'm gonna clear. We're clearing it together, and thank you all.
Yeah.
And so I have a thing, and it's, man, you would think, oh, this is only Mike's problem again, like I was sharing. I'm like, man, you'll see the interrelatedness of this all as soon as you get over yourself, in a way. As soon as you think it's only you and your little world, add effect to the so-called business world. I don't even want to call it system anymore. You've heard me say it so many times, so-called system. I mean, there's different systems, and I'll share this with them. And hey, there's this thing that nature has shown me. She says, hey, Mike, look at this part of your life that's kind of imbalanced. And I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, thank you for showing me again. And he says, now that you see that, look at this. Oh, wow, that's why I keep getting it coming up in my life, because it's related to all. I'm like, okay, let's do this again. Because I could keep clearing it in my life. But if it ain't cleared in the all, it's going to keep popping up. And so I was like, oh, yeah, thank you for reminding me that intimate, interrelated connection we have. Because I didn't want to say, well, my house is in order. See you all later. Good luck, tough luck, whatever bullshit. I'm like, no, man. There's only one house, one home. We all live in it. And so I look at this. Many times I've tried to bring this conversation up, and I'm like, do you get what I'm saying here? And they're like, kinda, no, not really. And I'm recognizing how self-centered, in a way, people's focus is. And I'm like, wow, there's a healthy part of that where, yeah, you need to focus on the self. But then there's another part of it when someone's sharing with you the all that you should take a look at. Because otherwise you just turn around and then it becomes an ego story for the other guy. Because that's the way you're looking at it from. So you project, oh, that's just your ego speaking, Mike. And I'm like, okay, let me see who's going to have this conversation with me. So I'm not waiting, but I'm looking forward to this conversation that I'm going to have with someone who doesn't repeat back to me this, what I'm talking about, who shares the next part of the sentence, the next part of the conversation. So I can go, yes, you're in on this conversation, because that's who I need to have it with. And many times I'm like, okay, I keep sharing this story with people, and they're like, nah, Mike, you're being too literal. Mike, what's your problem? I'm like, I'm not describing my problem. I'm not describing your problem. I'm describing a general fear concept construct that we've all been kind of locked into. And many times the way you have to relate this word is, okay, I'm doing something, and I'm going to use this word, heal, because I don't believe in healing the planet. I don't think there's any healing needed to be done. If anything, it's called freeing up energy that's stagnant or stuck in your body, or if you want to then project it out onto the planet. But when we look at it clearer, it doesn't reside in the physical earth or your physical body per se. It resides in your mental body that manifests into your physical reality, or even your physical body. And You're like, and I'm like, that's the program. Let's clear it. We clear it together. Please recognize it. And so I'm going to have this conversation. I know it because I'm having it right now. But I recognize in this, it's I don't do it by myself. I don't clear these fears on my own. This is why we say, yeah, we come together. This is why everyone's saying, yeah, man, this ain't an individual effort. Yeah, there was Buddha. There was Jesus. There was Krishna. Whoever that gave you the one person is enlightened, the rest of you tough effing luck.